me love, make a change. Time is up. We can wait for better days, but the days won't come. Show me light, show me love, show me light, show me love. Make a change. Time is up. We can wait for better days, but the days won't come. Show me light, show me love. This is all we got. Show me light, show me love. This is all we got. Show me love, show me love. This is all we got. Show me love, show me love.
I hate when that happens. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, buenas noches, boker tov. I hope I'm in tune with you guys because I got a little glitch here and my opener stopped for me, but I know it continued for you guys because it happened before. So here we are, again, we're dealing with all the technical issues. How are everybody doing today? How are we doing today? I hope everyone is good. Welcome to the show. I have a great show prepared for you guys today. We're talking about trauma and how it affects our lives. And I want you to guys to, if you can, this is the subject today, out of the trauma trap. And if you can, please share this right now with one friend. Invite one friend because I really feel as many people as possible need to be today. My guest is incredible. The conversation is going to be good. So if you can share this broadcast with one more person, do it right now. Click the share button and let's go. You can click the like buttons too. Those little hearts. The more you click on it, the algorithm reads that you want to be here, that you like being here, and it'll show it to more people. It's never about the fame, it's about the reach. We want to reach as many people as possible because we know what we're here to do. So, how is everybody doing? Of course, write me in the chat. We have the live chat. Hey, how are you? Thanks for being here. I love it. I love it when you guys write to me. Please don't leave me here all alone. If you're here from YouTube, if you're here from Facebook, let me know. And yes, like I said, we have a great show today and we're speaking about trauma. And I feel like trauma is such a huge, concept and a huge subject. And yet, I don't know personally anyone who did not experience trauma, some kind of form of trauma in their lives. So I really felt like bringing that subject, and it's the first time, it's definitely not going to be the last time. I'm sure we're going to talk about it in other shows too. But I wanted to start with speaking about trauma because it's an important subject to touch on. I know personally from my life experience and many other people I work with and talk to from my country and everything that's going on right now, people are traumatized on a regular basis everywhere in the world. That's the big things, the war zone and those kind of things, but those part of trauma as well. But each of us have trauma in their personal life too. So, what is really trauma? Let's kind of dive into the subject. Trauma is basically when we hit with a stressful situation that we don't really know how to cope with, and it overwhelms us to a point that we don't know how to deal with it emotionally, right? So the emotional mechanism shuts down and we don't really know what to do with it, and the stress level raises up, and that's really what creates a trauma. And it can happen directly or indirectly. You can be part of the trauma, or the trauma can happen to someone you know or something around you, and it will affect you too. Like I said, war zone, sexual abuse, accident, natural disaster. So many different things can contribute to trauma. So that's kind of like where trauma starts from. Now, by the way, I made myself notes because if I'll just go on a roll, it's going to be 3 hours just me talking, and I got a lot of things to say today, and we have a lot of things to get to. So I'm going to try to stay on track. But um, so there are different types of traumas too. There is an acute trauma, okay, which is, something that happened right one time. That's it, like the situation happened. Then there is a chronic trauma, which is something that happened constantly and stays with you, and it's like a reoccurring trauma. And then there's a complex trauma. That's something that happen once, can continue happening, and because it continues happening, it actually reemerges every once in a while. For example, abuse. That's complex trauma because you're still living the former abuse while you're in the abuse, and new abuse is being introduced to you on a regular basis. So that's a very complex trauma. Okay. The trauma can create obviously psychological and emotional challenges. Anything from self-esteem uh, issues, and hi, hello, hi, thanks for being here. Um, anything. I just wanna make sure I see you guys, and so I'm gonna be going from the comments too, because I would love for you to share your experiences with trauma, or how you feel about trauma, or just trauma in your life, where it meets you in your life. So I'll keep an eye on the live chat. Please share anything you would like over there. Um, so, like I said, psychological or emotional, anything from self worth, self esteem, codependency issues, of course, mental issues. This is really, let me go there. This is trauma and what it can do for us, or the reasons for it. It's I love that cycle because it shows so many different things about trauma, and how it finds us, and where it meets us in life, and from what reasons as well. So, I think the main thing to remember is that recovery takes time, especially with trauma. It's not about doing it right now. It's not a race. It's like it's a destination when it comes to trauma. And I can tell you from my personal experience, and I'll share my personal experience with trauma and where it met me in my life. But, from my personal experience, I can tell you that with trauma, it can take years, and it can just keep, you're going to have a trigger out of nowhere that you didn't even realize that is still there, and all of a sudden you find yourself back in, like, oh wow, that's still here, like I still feel this kind of way, anxiety still comes up. It's always many times leftovers of trauma. I think one of the biggest things and the most common for all types of traumas, and the one thing that really hits us the hardest, is that we lose control. We don't believe we have control anymore over our life, because the situation came, shook us, and showed us that everything we knew, we don't know anymore, right? Again, from wherever concept and whatever reason and aspect it can be. So, when we are losing control, that's probably one of the scariest things for human beings to deal with. Uncertainty is one of the hardest things for us to deal with. And so we're always going to try to figure out how to overcome it. So dealing and healing the trauma is the most important part of the trauma because, like I said, there is not one person in the world that didn't experience trauma in one way or another. But it's up to us to constantly heal ourselves and take care of ourselves so we can overcome the trauma and not let it the trauma run us. Um, Different ways that we can, deal and heal trauma: self-care, seeking support from your friends, your loved ones, and of course, professional help. That always helps. So, those are great ways to deal with trauma. If I'm focusing on self care for a second, I can say that probably prioritizing self care, which is, rest, nutrition, workout releases endorphins, which always makes us feel better, boosts our mood, and helps us dealing with it. um, Doing things that we like to do, that we usually do. Now sometimes obviously it's hard after trauma because all you want to do is basically lay under the blanket or stay at home and don't deal with people. But little by little, if you can bring yourself out to do the things that you used to do or you like to do, it helps because it gives us the sense of normalcy. Um, what else in self care? I said, obviously, the nutrition can help to um, work out that. I said the endorphins, it helps regulate the nervous system. So that's very important too. Professional help can help. If it's somebody that knows, how to help you when you conversate with them, when you use, their tools, it can be a coach, it can be a psychologist, it can be a psychiatrist, whatever your need for your trauma that you experienced can be there for you. It's very important to seek professional help if you feel you need to. Don't stay by yourself with your trauma because the trauma is here. Okay, you may have experienced it in the body, you may experience it in the soul, you experience it on all levels, but really where it stays is right here in this box. And that's where it keeps going over and over again and make you relive it over and over again. That's really the hard part about trauma, that it programs you to relive it, and it keeps you, and the mind and the emotions are, a match. And so if the thought starts, the emotional experience comes, and then the anxiety starts. And when the anxiety starts, it will overwhelm the mind again, and it will create this constant cycle between the two that will really keeps you in that stress mode, in an anxious mode. And healing from there is very hard. So I want to say other things that can help: meditation. Of course, you guys, if you know me a little bit, I'm big on meditating because I know how much it helped me in my trauma healing process. Anything from mindfulness. Mindfulness is a great thing to help you with trauma because mindfulness is all about being in the moment. And if I'm right here, that means I'm not right here. And this cannot control me. I'm constantly right here in the moment. Um, Let me see. I want to read this comment. I'm 51 years old, and just in the past year, I managed to go deep all the way to healing. That's beautiful. Yeah, it takes time. It really takes time. I still been doing work on my trauma healing for over 20 years. And last year, I found out a huge piece that had to do with my PTSD that I didn't know about, how PTSD kind of affects us I knew many different things that it can do, but I didn't know that piece. And it had me like crying for like an hour just in relief, where I realized, oh my God, so that's part of that too. So that's why it's happening to me. That's why I'm dealing with this, so it really is such a journey. So don't expect yourself to heal from something in a day, in a month, in a week. It takes time, and the more you do it, the better. And again, it depends on what kind of trauma you had. So, and I want to say before I go into sharing my personal experience, another way of helping ourselves with trauma, because we lose control, if we set goals for ourselves, realistic goals, small goals that we can achieve and we can conquer, that helps because it helps us regain the control over our life. Okay, it makes us feel like we did it, we're in control. And the biggest, like I said, the biggest thing with trauma is losing control. So when you can do it and when you can connect to it, it's incredible. For me personally, I experienced acute and chronic. So it started with my dad's accident. If you were here before, you know about it. And that's an indirect trauma, right? I wasn't in the car, but I was very much influenced by the whole situation. It was uh, right there in the moment when it happened. It had, and actually, I saw my sister in front of my face. She took me to dance class, and a car hit her. She crossed the street before me, and a car hit her right in front of my eyes. Talk about trauma, right? She flew in front of my eyes, and that's already knowing and having issues with car accidents. So it's like, oh my God. So that was something, another acute moment, indirect trauma, but I was part of it. And then chronically, the situation with my father, for example, he came back. First year was chronic trauma because my parents both were gone. My mom was always in the hospital, my dad wasn't there. I had to deal with all of that as a 6-year-old. Then on top of that, you add to that when he came back and came back a totally different person, and the verbal abuse and the constant anger and the things I had to deal with, that also threw me off the loop. And that was constant trauma because I really didn't know what's going to happen. There was no control. I had no control about my environment. I didn't know what is going to happen, when it's going to happen. And I also knew that nobody in my family knows because we were all, at his mercy. So I knew that my mom is not in control, really. My sisters are not really in control. I constantly felt that. On top of that, I come from a terror country, a war zone country. So I don't know, at home, I don't know when my dad is going to blow up. And outside, I don't know if the bus I'm on or the restaurant I'm sitting in is going to blow up. And there goes that. And I experienced a lot of death from terror as a teenager, from friends who, been in a bus stop and got blown up or things of that nature. So I constantly had trauma, chronic trauma in my life. Later on with years when I wanted to deal with it because I realized, there's this thing in me that, I'm very happy. I'm a happy, seemingly happy person. I like people, I like things to go. I do all these things, but there's fear in me, and I always feel like things are going to end. Right later on, I realized it's called, oh, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. But that's really how I constantly lived. If it's good, oh, it's too good. Oh, no, honey, something's about to happen. Something is about to go down for sure. It cannot be that good for that long. That was always the energy and the mindset that I was in because of my experience. So I decided to start doing the work and doing the healing. And the first thing I did was listen to my thoughts. I wanted to recognize my thoughts. Like, when do I think about scary things? And let me tell you, it was sad, scary, cathartic, anything and everything. Because once I actually started realizing how many negative thoughts, I'll give you an example. My son is a toddler, right? I'm putting him to bed. We always have our little thing. I say a prayer with him. We say it together. I tickle him. We laugh. I cover him, and we say goodnight. That night, I tickled him, and he was on like a binge of laughing. So I was tickling. The more he laughed, the more I wanted to tickle him. So I'm tickling him, and I'm putting, my mouth on his belly. And so my ear is very close to his mouth. So I can hear him in full force laughing in my ear. And that joyous moment in a split second brought a thought to my head. And I saw it and I recognized it on the first second because I decided to do the work of self awareness, and I decided to do this work of conscious living. And when we want to be aware of ourselves and we want to live consciously, we have to see ourselves no matter what. And you practice it and it will happen. And because I started doing the work in that moment, He was laughing, and all I saw in my mind was, please don't let him die. I hope he's not going to die. And I just shut down. And I was like, why? Why would I think that in such a joyous moment? Why would why out of everything in the world that I can think of, that's what I'm choosing to think about, that he's going to die when he's laughing and happy and the most alive ever? But that's how trauma works, and that's how anxiety works. I can tell you anxiety. Let me tell you the amount of tics I had developed from the levels of anxiety that I dealt with from my trauma. I used to bite my nails. I used to roll my eyes. I used to pull my nose. I mean, I crack my neck, and that's the last tic I have still from childhood. It started when I was 12, working hard on it. I know that it's mind power, mind body connection, but these are the type of things that like stay with us in the physical form, where we can see our anxiety or we can feel it. I used to tighten my belly all the time. There was like a knot constantly there. So this is kind of the way to start doing the work and start healing. Be aware of yourself. Meditate, so it will help you see your thoughts. Nobody wants to meditate because it freaks them out, because there's so much noise in the head. Exactly. You deserve better. We deserve better. That's all that led me. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be like that. I know I deserve better. I know I deserve to be happier. I know that my happy outer form should be my happy inner form, and it works. Sitting in front of you here is a product of work, about constant work to raise my self-esteem, to raise my security within myself, to try to gain control back on my life, to constantly remind myself my worth and remind myself that I am not my trauma. It happened and I can live it where it is, because the key to everything is this: and I can control my mind. It's my mind. I can control the thoughts that are in there, and I can choose what thought I want to put in there. But the only way I'll be able to switch the thought is if I'm aware of the thought. So do the work. I so highly encourage you to journal. That helped me so much, seeing myself, seeing the things I'm scared of, seeing the things that kind of pull me back into that negativity, that brings me back into that introverted self. I know it's hard to imagine me as an introvert, but trust me, I was the most insecure, self-secure person in the room. I was so confident to the outside, but on the inside, I was broken. And that's how many times people are. And like we always say, like, you don't know people, you see people, you don't know what they're going through. You really don't. And we try to cope with it on the outside, but if you try to heal it on the inside, you don't have to cope so much anymore. You'll actually be able to live through it and thrive from that trauma. And I promise you, I only speak from experience. And I know it's not that negative thoughts don't come to my head, and it's not like I don't have those moments, but the work helps me not have them as often as they did, or not as strongly to the point that they paralyze me. And I can't think of, obviously, you see what I'm doing. I just started a show. I decided I want to start a show, and I had to believe enough and dare enough and be courageous enough to not allow this right here to control me. So that's kind of what I want you guys to understand about trauma, and what I want you to take with you about trauma. Dad says hi. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. That's my sister. And to know that my dad is here. No, I'm getting emotional again. The journey I went with my dad, and the journey I took with my dad, from anything, from the trauma to the forgiveness, has been life changing. And the only reason we can allow the trauma not to define us is if we choose to heal it and choose to embrace it. And I love my dad wholeheartedly. And, we went through hell and back together. And to know that he's here and proud of me and see me. And, so many times we can say, well, because of my dad, this and this. No, don't allow it, and don't let it define you. You're bigger than your mind, and you're so much bigger than your trauma. So That's that. I need a tissue now. Um, I want to bring a guest to the show because I think I spoke by myself long enough. Uh, trauma affects everything, especially our relationships. And I have an incredible guest today. She is a trauma coach, she's a relationship coach, she's a trauma healing coach. I'm going to put that exactly where it needs to be because she is incredible with the work she does. She's a host of a award-winning podcast, she's a moderator, she's a speaker, and she's a huge advocate for women empowerment. And I'm so grateful to have her. We've been friends for a while. We did a webinar together serving people. Uh, with no further ado, allow me to bring Coach Déa to the stage. Hello, hello, beautiful.
Hello, hello, and thank you for having me here today. As everyone know, it is the National Trauma Survivors Day, so it's a
Yes,
perfect day to have this conversation. So thank you for the great
absolutely.
intro too. That was perfect.
Of course, you are perfect. I love you. I'm so excited to have you here. You're so knowledgeable. You do so much. I love everything you talk about. I follow you, of course, and we're gonna let people know where they can follow you and find you. But you always share such wise things, and a lot about it is trauma and how it affects us. So, I want you to kind of really share a little bit about that, touch on that aspect of trauma and how it impacts our relationship, if you don't mind.
Yes. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to give a little intro too about what trauma actually does, because everything that you said earlier concerning the layers of trauma are correct, right? And the thing that people forget about is that trauma, is the layers of trauma involve obviously pain, fear, ego. Some people really, we behave differently. We become depressed. Some people have PTSD. They develop autoimmune diseases, disorders. But the most important thing that people forget to see is that trauma causes grief. So
Mm,
what we focus on, people that have trauma like myself, you, anybody in the world, we focus so much on the pain and the life event, and we forget to take care of the grieving part. Now, just to
mm,
clarify, there is always grief in trauma, but there's not always trauma in grief. And the example I'll give you is, let's say you have a 98-year-old grandmother who passed away. Obviously, you're going to grieve that loss, but it's not traumatic. She had a beautiful life. She lived a full life. So there's no trauma there. You can have trauma by losing someone suddenly to a car accident, even if that person is old. That then would be defined as a traumatic experience because of the accident. And obviously, the layer of grief for the obvious reasons. Losing a person, also experiencing the grief of, just the trauma of uh, the sudden nature of the event. So these are all aspects of trauma. The other thing that I do when I work with my trauma uh, clients, I talk about the impact of trauma in the way we engage in the world as well as in relationships. And I'll go into that later, doing the layers of it. But primarily because a lot of people who experience trauma, they're afraid of dealing with the trauma because that means letting go of something. And a lot of people, believe it or not, think that if they let go, it's like it didn't happen. And I try to explain to them, think of trauma, all of traumatic experiences. We'll have many throughout our lives. And you put everything
mm.
into a backpack. That backpack goes on your back early first thing in the morning before you go out the door, and you
Yeah.
carry that with you. Now you're engaging with everyone from that place. There is memory of a bad relationship, or maybe a loss of a loved one, or maybe something like you said, you saw your sister getting hit by a car. All those things are stored here, but it's on that backpack. And the way you're going to engage in the world is going to be by association. You're going to remember something, or something will remind you of that day. Maybe it's the weather, maybe it's a smell, or maybe it's where you're standing, the place you're in. And I tell people the reason why we want to take the backpack off, it's not because it didn't happen, but because it did. You see,
Mm,
because then you're going to continue. If you don't go into healing, if you don't go into evolving from that pain, right, you're not going to grow. So, thing is, working on healing about trauma doesn't take the trauma away. We can't go back and erase what happened. We're
Right.
never going to erase what happened. A trauma is, think of a physical wound. When you get a cut, over time, you wash it, you clean it, you have a scar, right? It heals. You can see it. Trauma is it's a wound of the heart. It's invisible. You can't see it. Other people can't see it when they engage with you. They don't know that
Right.
you're operating from a place of trauma. Those are invisible scars and they'll be there forever. Okay. We're never going to be able to change what happened, but we can choose to create a new narrative, to step into life in a different way,
Absolutely.
learning what happened, understanding what happened, and then choosing to move on. Now, with the eyes of a person who is saying, okay, I want to grow from this. If we don't do that, we won't evolve. We'll keep repeating patterns over and over and over. However, I need to say this, evolving involves repetition. So you can still repeat, and every single time something happens, you can say, well, I could see this differently now. Okay,
Yes,
so this is what I
exactly.
wanted to do in terms of giving just an overall
Yeah,
understanding
no,
of
absolutely.
trauma
I love
work.
that. And it's important that what you said too. I want to really highlight what you said because that part, of it coming back and it repeating itself and there's triggers that are going to bring it. But the more you do the work, like I said, it's not that I don't have triggers or, side effects of the trauma, but it minimizes itself with time because of the work that we do.
Right. The repetition brings awareness to the space, right? And more aware you are, and you start to be able to identify, I'm triggered here. I
Right.
became hypervigilant, or I'm doing this because of, if you remember what happened, right? We're not going to forget what happened. We're going to use the memory to and put it in a different place by saying, instead of letting the trauma become me, I
Right.
am not the trauma. I'm going to take what happened and say, I can make something with this and do something different by choice, right?
Yes.
So those are the people who will be able to heal and evolve. And remember that, the repetition will cause you to learn about your own vulnerability. Okay.
Yeah.
Because in healing, you have to be vulnerable, right? So,
Absolutely.
so
So
again,
take us into how from what you do, because I know you work a lot with couples and people
yes.
in relationships. With your experience, share with us a little bit about how you found that trauma impacts relationship.
Right. So that was my next thing, is that, when you go out there, we're going to engage in the world in a way, in a certain type of way. Trauma will cause us to want to, cause us to operate from void, from fear, and things like that. But I learned that working with couples, that, trauma can directly impact relationships, particularly in two areas. The first one is how people choose their partners, and I'll
Mm,
break that down. And the second one would be how people engage in conflict resolution. Those are crucial. Okay. All right. To break down the first one. So let's say that, people are looking for a partner, and maybe it is because their dad wasn't present. Let's say a woman is looking for a husband, right? Or a man is looking for a wife. Maybe their mother wasn't present or their father wasn't present. Now they're looking to replace that person that wasn't there, or someone who was abused by a family member. And it could have been the identity of that person, whether it's a man or a woman. Now you're going to look for that partner. It's almost as if you're trying to fill a void. You're trying to patch something that's broken within yourself, right? Now, what happens is that people will meet each other, and they will sometimes, through their trauma, they will connect. We call that affinity, right? Let's
mm,
say a person meets another person and they both went through some type of abuse or some type of relationship that traumatized them. Now they're trying to replace that partner, say, I need better. But because they experience the same kind of pain, they're going to have an affinity. Okay. Here's where it gets complicated. The trauma now is going to impact them because from affinity to compatibility, there's a big difference. Affinity, we talk about, we relate in the moment. Compatibility needs to be executed. It's the everyday experience, how you engage with each other. Because those two people are not healed and whole, they have affinity, they understand each other, but they don't have the tools to manage their trauma. Okay, because
ah,
you're fully healed. So now compatibility, okay, we're not sure now if we're compatible. Now, very possible the people that have evolved and done the work in trauma have affinity and compatibility. It's very possible. But a lot of times what happens is in the execution of the everyday, how they engage, how they share time together, how they deal with their pet peeves, how they engage in communication is going to be directly impacted by the fact that they did not do the healing work. They don't have the tools. And now that affinity is a weapon.
Mm.
Very common, very common. So that's the one part. The other part concerning conflict resolution. Conflict resolution becomes you can master only when you understand that healthy communication does not involve perfection. Healthy communication is about learning to manage the imperfections, and it involves learning about your partner's love language, learning about how to hold space to your partner. How does your partner feel seen, heard, and loved, right? So understanding each other from that place, not when everything is going well, but when it's hardest. Okay, conflict resolution involves a certain type of pursuit, and it's not the pursuit of truth. It's not the pursuit of being right. It's not the pursuit of trying to prove your point. It's the pursuit of each other's heart, right? So does it matter that at the end of a
Okay.
conversation you're right? Or does it matter that you're connected? You want to go from contention to connection, right? You don't want to stay stuck on, well, I knew this and I said that and I'm right about this. You don't want to be right. Trust me. At the end of the day, you don't want to be right. You want to be connected with your partner. So with trauma, what happens is we go to association. We remember the partner before, or if we had a relationship with a narcissistic partner, now in this relationship, you're going to be hypervigilant, right? Why is it important to have the healthy communication? Letting your partner know about how you feel, how you engage in these moments, having the hard conversations. Okay, conflict resolution is about having the hard conversations, not when you're triggered. Okay, bring
Right.
it
I
up.
was just about to say that. You have to know when to talk to your
It
partner.
can happen, right? It cannot happen when you're triggered. When you're triggered, though, you can say, this is something that we probably need to talk about. Maybe not now in the moment. I need my space. Give each other space. This takes practice too. Okay. It's not easy
Yes.
because when we're triggered, it's almost like it's too late. You're there. But to go back, circle back to that place when you're not feeling triggered and go back and have the hard conversation. Be transparent. Listen, relationship, three key things: initiative, effort, and reciprocity. Those are the key elements of relationships. Those
What are they
involve
again? Repeat that.
initiative, um, effort, and
Yes.
reciprocity, right? So
Yes.
with initiative is where you're going to say, okay, I'm going to be the one to go to my partner and say, hey, don't be proud. Don't be like, always the one initiating the hard conversations. It doesn't matter. Remember, connection over anything else. So if you are the one who has to say, hey, are you in the right space? I'd like to have maybe after dinner or maybe tomorrow I'd like to circle back to what happened. Let's talk about it. Let's figure this out together. Okay.
Yes.
The language is very important. It's not you made me feel. No, I am feeling a certain type of way. I just want to make sure. How about you? How are you doing? How are you feeling? All of those elements have an impact on the way you deal with conflict resolution. But do it when it's hardest, not when you're unresourced. Okay. It's always hard to have the hard conversations, but it's very important that you're resourced. Okay.
Yes.
Because then you're not coming again out of void, right? You want to have the conversation and have the relationship out of value. And trauma sometimes it's almost like think of trauma being like a veil over people, right?
Mm.
It's almost like you're covered in some way. Your heart is covered. It's tainted with, it's tempered with. So when you engage with another person, if you are coming from that place, there's going to be that pattern, the repetition that every time you feel vulnerable, you will remember the pain. See, we remember the pain. We remember everything that was done to you. But I'm going to urge for those of you who are listening to this, focus on what's happening in you,
Yes.
not what happened to you, because that we cannot change. We can only change what's happening in here. We've heard many people say that a lot of people out of trauma, out of these feelings, and not so much what happened, but what we carry after that, right? What lingers on? Think of a ball and chain on your ankle. Think of the heavy backpack. Actually, there's a post of mine that I'm wearing a backpack that's the size of my body. Think of that heavy backpack that we carry and the weight that we're putting on our hearts. And then think about how is that impacting your health? You talked about self care, meditation, all of those things. We need to be so conscious and aware to soothe our souls. to soothe ourselves in such a way that we don't develop autoimmune diseases. Or how many people you have said they were healthy, but all of a sudden they had breast cancer or
Right.
a very aggressive type of pancreatic cancer. No explanation. Why? Pain,
Yeah.
fear, trauma, not dealing with the grief.
Not feeling. Yeah.
Obviously, no one is perfect, and like you said, it's not a linear thing. There's no final destination. Healing is a journey. So to
Right.
embrace that as a mission, like think of it as your own mission of love for yourself.
Mm.
Why?
Yes.
Because when we are here whole, everything that we touch will be whole too. And to create the
Amen.
environment for yourself. What we it's almost like the brain itself, without even all the feelings of fear, trauma, grief. Think about it, even from a neuroscience perspective. Our brain will not recognize the emotion, but it will hear the words and the thoughts. It will see the
Right.
behavior, and it will see what we say. So what you're saying about your life, about your trauma, hopefully it is about that desire to heal. Healing begins with desire.
Yes. Amen to that. Thank you so much. That was incredible. Coach Déa, everybody. Wait, I need some sound effects over here. I need to get my clapping and my the crowd is going crazy. Wait, where is it?
Oh, thank you.
You so much. That was so insightful. I already know I'm going to bring you again to the show because every time we speak, there's a lot more to speak about, and it's always so interesting and so enlightening. So I appreciate it. You said a few great things that I'm personally going to watch the recording of it with, like, I try to write some notes real quick while you were talking, but I also wanted to listen to you. Uh, but yeah, it really is a mission of love for our soul and finding ourselves. So thank you so much. I appreciate you for, let me see, I got some new comments for you over here. It is so hard to be so conscious all the time. Yes, it is. It is. It's the work. So hard to do, but absolutely necessary. I know. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, ladies, for sharing your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much, Dea. Wait, I'm trying to. Uh, where is it? Okay. I want to focus on you. So thank you. I appreciate you. I also told everybody I had your banner run a few times where they can find you, where they can follow you too. So and I know you have a program that you're doing on your website, so they are welcome to check it out. And if they want to sign into your program, they can put this coupon
CD
code of
15, the
5015.
coupon code, yes, it's a Radiant
Yeah.
Moment program. And if you are a guy, you can invite your sister, your mother, your partner. One thing that I want to say real quick, a quote that I learned from a dear coach friend of mine. He was actually my
Yes.
personal coach when I started my healing journey. And he says, his name is Jeff Burkowski, and he says, relationships don't get better, people do.
I
Okay.
love
So
that.
we need to make sure that we are resourced, that we are looking and walking with courage to heal, to be a better person. He has a
Yes.
great book called Better Man, Better Marriage.
Ah,
So
I
it's
love
like
it.
it's amazing that what we do, what we can, pour into others only when we ourselves are
Our
taken care
healing.
of.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much again, Dea.
Thank you for
And I
having me, Lulu.
appreciate
It's a
you. It was a
pleasure.
pleasure having you here.
Thank
Bye,
you
my
again.
darling. Thank you so
Bye.
much. All right. That was incredible and very insightful. And, I want to talk a little bit about right before, because, time is running. Oh my God. We have no time. No, we have plenty, but time flies when you're having fun. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about, the outer beauty. Let's say, thank you so much, Coach Dea. I got such value through profound insight you allowed me to have. That's beautiful. I'm sure she saw it and she's grateful for it. Um, I want to talk a little bit about outer beauty. We always speak about inner beauty. It's time for a little outer beauty. And I want to, the trauma, we spoke about, the psychological trauma and what it can do for our mental, but it also really, can do. Um, damage on the physical. And I'm gonna take you into our segment that is called Your Skin Cares, and we're gonna talk a little bit about trauma on that level. So here we go. That's right. Your skin cares. So, obviously, trauma creates stress. And when we're stressed, that cortisone, the stress hormone, is being released. And when it is released, it actually starts breaking down collagen and elastin, which are the elastin. You know me with my, don't worry about my pronunciations. I know you know what I mean. um, but it's like I'm looking forward to an episode that I won't be challenged with a word in my pronunciation. But anyways, um, but that was really inspiring. Thank you very much. So yeah, so it actually breaks down the collagen, the elastin in your skin. It actually encourages oil production. So you're going to start producing more oil, which will result in acne, in more breakouts. Your pores are going to be filled, so there's going to be more blackheads. All these things that actually will, traumatize the skin. Okay, so when you're stressed, your skin is stressed. Skin condition, eczema, psoriasis, rosacea, those things also will always start happening when stress is involved because the way it breaks out in the body. So, you know, the main thing that I can tell you, and there's many things you can do, but I'll start with the basic because that's really what I want to focus in today is, the main thing that you can do to help it is cleansing. Um, I'm going to speak over my slides today. So, um, cleansing is really your first thing that you can do. It helps with everything. I'm actually going to try to put myself here with you guys. Hey, there I am. But I'm going to move me and minimize me. Perfect. Oh, okay. So when we talk about cleansing, there are many different forms of cleansing. And 45. When 45 hit, I became half blind. So let's do that. There are different types of cleansing. You can have a soap that is cream based, balm oil based, or gel based. You want to help your skin. Now, mind you, besides the emotional and psychological trauma that you go to, the skin is getting traumatized from the environment. UV rays, pollution, free radicals, even the blue light from the screen. I don't know if you know that, but if you sit a lot in front of the screen, you're going to see aging faster. The blue light actually encourages hyperpigmentation. It encourages the melanin production. So if you're one that works in the office a lot and you don't understand why all of a sudden you have more dark spots than you did and you're not even in the sun, that's why. So the blue light is actually really really dangerous. So just stay on top of it because it really is important to understand that there are many different things that can cause trauma to the skin. So we want to be on top of it. So let's go back to the cleansing. So we have a cream-based cleanser, a gel-based cleanser, an oil-based cleanser, and some cleansers are gentle and some cleansers have exfoliators in them. Okay. How often do we want to cleanse? Once to twice a day. Usually at nighttime is better because if your whole day has been, like I said, the pollution, makeup, you want to do that. You can double cleanse if you use actually balm and oil cleansers, which are great because they bring hydration to the skin too, and they break down all the makeup, oil, waterproof mascara, things of that nature. So when you use an oil cleanser, make sure if that's the only cleanser you use to clean it with a cloth because there are after that, if not, they can leave residue and it can stay in your pores and it can create breakouts that you're trying to avoid. Besides that, if you don't want to use a cleansing cloth, double cleanse. I do an oil to remove my makeup, and then I bring in my regular gel cleanser. Another way to cleanse is with a toner. Toners are always going to be liquid base. They can be applied either on a cotton pad, on the hands. You can take a little bit and just dab it onto your skin, or they can come as a spray. Some toners have acids in them, and some don't. If it's a toner with acids, again, you don't want to use it very often because it's not, it can actually cause trauma to the skin. So, helping with the skin, the toner can, and you guys are welcome. I'm going to take myself off the screen in a second so you can take screenshot of this slide and have it for your reference whenever you need. If you want to use a toner in the morning, it can replace your cleanser. If you cleansed at night and you went to sleep, by the way, changing sheets and your pillowcases is also important, because if you have some product on your hair or things of that nature and you sleep on your pillow and then your skin is on it and you haven't replaced your pillowcase often, that can also cause breakout and trauma to the skin. Exfoliators are another great way to cleanse the skin and take care of the skin and kind of screen and heal the trauma on the skin. There are physical exfoliant, which can be from grains, beads, or small particles. There's acid exfoliants, glycolic acid, salicylic acid, lactic acids. They can also, like I said, come in different forms, either inside of a cleanser, in a toner, and there are also enzymatics, which come from natural fruits, so like papaya enzyme, or uh, what else has good enzymes in it? I'm forgetting. Pineapple actually has good enzymes in it too. So, and those actually break down the keratin and the dead skin cells and really kind of brings the livelihood back to the skin. It cleanses, it brightens, it empties out the pores, and it helps. That's what acids do mostly. They break the fat inside the pores, so they prevent the acne and they prevent that. They're recommended once a week. Again, all these recommendations are my personal recommendations because of my experience over 20 years in the skincare industry. So, I would definitely suggest that you can personally ask if you work with an esthetician. But for me, not more than once a week if it's a physical, and if you're doing an acid and you're very oily, you can do it probably up to 3 times. I want to introduce you to a company that I absolutely love. I've been using it for over 20 years. Some of you may know it if you worked with me before, or if you were my client, you've seen it in my bag. So, Hila Herbal Cosmetics, all natural, vegan. All the packaging can be recyclable. Her cleanser is life. I am like obsessed with that cleanser. Oh, hi, here I am again. Let me move myself over here on top of this beautiful lady so you can see the coupon code. I'm going to give you this QR code to put right here. Scan it. It'll take you to her Amazon store. I asked her personally to give you guys a discount because I know how great the product is, and I wanted to give you a little incentive to purchase it and try it, because I know once you will, you would never want to use anything else in your life, honestly. It's her soothing and balancing lavender cleanser. It has, I believe, 4 different plants in it. I know it has the tea tree in it, which is also antifungal. The lavender is anti-inflammatory. It's very calming, of course. It has ylang ylang in it, and it also has palmarosa. And I know the palmarosa helps with skin regeneration, and the ylang ylang actually helps with balancing the oil production. So this gel cleanser can do anything and everything that your skin needs. I use it, my son uses it, my daughter uses it, my clients use it. Like I said, I'm obsessed with it. Go to the Amazon store, scan the QR code. When you're ready for your purchase, put on the coupon code Lulu-Lee 20. You'll get 20% off. Thank you for being so generous. It's available only until June 15. She's actually, this is a little secret from me to you guys. I know personally that she's rebranding. So she created these bundles on the Amazon store that are like crazy prices and the best products combined together. So you can get the cleanser on its own if you want to, but you can also get it. I believe she combined it with a cream, and I know with an eye cream, and her eye cream is everything. So visit it, check it out, read more about the products over there. All the information is there. I highly recommend it. Take care of your skin. Our skin deserve to, you know, to stay healthy. We should not allow, our trauma to um, define how we look to. It's enough that it controls our brain. Wait, let me take that off. Let me put me back on. Here we go. Uh, it's enough that we're doing all that to the mind and the soul. We should definitely try to take care of the body too, if we can, from different things that create trauma. This show flew by. Oh my God. I felt like I literally feel like we just started. I want to thank you guys so much. You know the vibes. Chat with Lulu-Lee. Be here. Let me know, your thoughts. Let me know what you need. I want to say thank you for all of you that already emailed me. I have some emails about what would Lulu do. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this is actually the segment that here I am popping again on a circle, a segment that will actually let me coach you from my perspective and my tools. So thank you to those of you who wrote me about it. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank my team, as always, that are part of this, my designers, my photographers, my videographers, everybody that is part of Inspirational Beauty with Lulu-Lee. Oh, wow, I am on that circle today. I want to say, I don't know if you remember, I introduced my friend last time, my Care Bear crew. So this is the Dare to Care Bear. And like always, I'm going to encourage you to care and show kindness, because kindness always meets kindness back. But since I started the Care Bear crew, I know, universal magic. I found and this one also, same thing, recyclable. It's made out of 8 recyclable bottles. It is the Hopeful Heart Bear. So, especially talking today about trauma, have a hopeful heart and have faith in your journey and have faith in your healing journey, because you are deserving of all good things, and you're deserving of everything that, supposed to help you. Um, Oh my God, I love it. Okay, see, I told you, people who know me know I'm using these products. She cannot stress enough how obsessed she is with Hila's products. To subscribe, regular delivery for the cleanser. Okay, I love it. It is so amazing. So, again, thank you guys so much for being here with me. Follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you'll know when new things are uploaded. Sometimes I upload some reels and things like that. Follow me on Instagram, where I always post different things about inspiration or beauty. I am so grateful for you for being here with me. I cannot believe the show is already over. I'll see you next week. There's a lot to expect for next week. It's going to be interesting. I have a very cool guest. I'm going to keep it as a surprise. Tune in during the week to my social media so you can get a little bit more information about that. Until then, Care Bear Crew. So have a helpful, hopeful heart and dare to care and stay inspired. And as always, come for the beauty, but stay for the breakthrough. I hope you got some breakthroughs today and at least a new perspective to understand and learn about trauma and how it affects your life. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. And I'll see you again next week. All right. Later.
Show me life, show me love. Make a change, time is up. We can wait for better days, but the days won't come. Show me life, show me love. Show me life, show me love. Make a change, time is up. We can wait for better days, but the days won't come. Show me life, show me love. This is all we got. Show me life, show me love. This is all we got. Show me love, show me love.